Welcome back, guys, to another podcast of It's a DARMAR. Today, I don't have just my colleague, I have my friend. His name is Rafael Corazza. He is a SCAD professor for industrial design, and he is also director of minor marine design. And today, he will be talking about his career because he used to be car designer like I was, and we were at the same time in Torino. So, welcome, Rafael.
Thanks so much, Dharma. It's a huge pleasure to be with you, Darko. Thanks for the invite. Yeah, I can say I'm excited. I hope today we can share some thoughts here, some things that can actually inspire, some young designers.
I'm sure we can because your path has been long as mine. And you started as a car designer. You went from Brazil to Italy, then from Italy to Brazil, then again from Brazil to USA, and you finally became a professor now, and
Yeah.
which is a fascinating road. You know, you went through many things, and I
hmm
think we can talk about many things. Today, I would like you to introduce yourself for the starters because I can give you an introduction, but I'm sure that you can tell me a little bit more about you in a better way than I can. So please tell me, what do you do currently and how is that working?
Sure. Yeah. Well, it was definitely a journey, right? As you said, I'm gonna do like a short version, right? So I don't put people to sleep here.
You
But
want,
it's
please, as much as time you need. You're a guest, feel free.
but yeah, what basically happened was I was born like in this small town in Brazil, right? In the like the interior, like the back country, like 2 hours or 3 hours from São Paulo, right? So it's like basically a city that's very small, like full of forest, right? On like on the mountain, not mountain. We don't have real mountains in Brazil, but it's like a table mountain. It's flat. The city's on top, and you have all this nature around. It's beautiful. But at the same time, like most of the people that are born there is usually they just stay there for the rest of their lives, and it's a very calm and it's a great life. But yeah, so I wasn't very conform with like staying there, and uh, I mean, I love the city, but yeah, I think I always wanted to do something with art, and I was pretty sure that that was how hard to make that happen there. And yeah, and then I started to try and find my way. I started as a lot of like my students that they don't even think that they can have a career with art, and I was the same. So I was thinking about like even doing engineering and I ended up doing my first university, right? It was biology actually. So
Oh,
and I was that was the only thing that I liked about school actually, learning about animals and the nature life. And I said, okay, let's try that. And I went briefly to the university, and I was say, okay, no, I'm dropping this out. I need to do something with art, right? I love biology, but it needs to have something related with art. So the first thing that I know that was closer to art was architecture, and you could have a career. I never heard about industrial design before, which actually I heard one time, and it felt very boring, right? When when you say industrial design, the name of the course is not very attractive, right? For youngsters. So I said, no, I don't want to do anything with the industry. I want art, and I went for architecture. I did 6 months, 6 months of architecture, half a year, and I was like, yeah, this is not for me. It's not that I want. And when I was in the university, I actually discovered about industrial design there and what the people actually do. Right, I saw people running out with models, with products, and I was like, wow, this is actually amazing. Right, you can create stuff and in your head and put it in the real world. I think that was awesome. That was kind of draw me into to designing. And I think it's also something that you, me, and we are like deep inside the industry. Every designer that's in the school, it's like they're surrounded by designers, and they kind of. I think we lose a little bit of this how to kind of, to get to know, to be aware of how special this is, because for being industrial design is amazing, right? Like you can that's a huge privilege that we have, that we can imagine things. You put it in the real world, you put it on a piece of paper, and then you do a little prototype, and when you see that's a product that's in the street. So that's actually very remarkable, and we take for granted, right? Because we do it all the time. We see everybody that's around us doing this all the time, but it's actually, in fact, like a very special skill, right? But anyway, this was just left turn, and anyway, and that's okay. Oh, this is amazing, right? That was the moment that I said, okay, I want to do industrial design. When I decided to do industrial design again, I dropped out of the college. For people that are not familiar with the Brazilian school system, and that I think it's almost everybody, to get in school, to the university there, it's basically free if you get to a state university or a federal university, but you need to go through a test. So in between, like these universities, I was always like, it was not like I just drop from one university, start another. It was always, going back to school, study again, and then to passing the test, which, like, you compete with a lot of people, you gotta score high. And I passed one of the worst industrial design schools in the country, and I went there. And okay, it was nice, and everything. It was like a young university that, like, just a few years old. Professors were not even designers; they were like from architecture. But I started to understand what design was, and I actually spent almost 2 years there. Like, just kind of spinning the wheels. I was never like a good student my whole life, and I tell this to my students as a good example of that you can actually become a good student and a good professional. And then one day I met someone there that was trying to get into a internship at Volkswagen, and he told me, "Oh, there's this concours, this contest that you get to get a 1 year internship." And I was like, "Wait, how is that possible? Like is that designer that actually designed the cars?" And I was like, "He's yeah, it's designers." I always thought it would be like engineers. You don't have this kind of information a few years ago, right? Like
You have
when
no clue what's happening. Like me, you have no clue. You're just digging and looking.
you just dig, exactly, and internet was barely like as big as it's today, right? And I was like, wow, that's amazing. I want to do that. And then I discovered that in Brazil, the best university was the São Paulo State University. Had some professors that were involved in the car industry, and most of the students that were winning those contests were coming out from there. And you probably have, Art Martins, Rodrigo Galdino, right? All these
He was
legendary
there.
guys, right? They all came from there, right? And I was
Arthur was
wait,
there.
yeah.
Arthur is a great guy. He is a great designer also. Yeah.
No, Arthur is phenomenal, yeah, and he was a big inspiration too, right? Like, when I got in the university, I started to learn about them and understand who was in the industry and everything. It was like, and I was like, wow, wait, wow, these people is working there, and it was really cool. And then once I got to Nesp, I knew, and I think that's the good example that people can take to their lives, is that you gotta experiment as much as possible, right, to actually find what drives you, because that for me was like life changing in terms of as when you're young, you don't even know what you're doing, but like you kind of know, you don't know how to hear yourself from inside, and so that you have to learn throughout life. And I knew that I was I didn't know exactly what I want to do, but when I finally found it, and I said, okay, this is my chance to do what I want, like the M&A, the music. I say, okay, that's the chance that I have, to really do what I want. And in the end, was not easy, because it's hard always to do the hard work, but it's way easier when you know where you want to get, because that's hard, but you can do the hard work in between. And that's already, like, I don't know, it's 50%, maybe more, maybe 60% of the way, is to really understand it, where you want to go, and then you do the hard work in between, right? But that was what changed for me. From that day, I actually started to wake up early. I tried to understand what was the skills that I need to have to graduate, right? Like, and get the internship, and then work on the habits that help me build those skills, right? So basically, the first thing I know, I need to learn how to draw, and drawing cars specifically, which I didn't. Yeah, and I have, like, I remember like my first car sketches were really terrible. Um, and then I started sketching almost every day. My school was at night, so basically I was like, waking up at 8 and spending the whole day sketching, and then going to the school, and then coming out from school at night, and then go to sleep, wake up in the morning the next day, and that was my whole routine. And yeah, the more I focus on the work, easier it got. And like the beginning was really hard, but that's the thing, if you keep going, but constantly developing a skill, right? That's you know this really well, right? That's how it is. You just need to build the mileage and push the skills, so you get them kind of multiplying each other along the time. Every time you learn something new, helps you be better on things that you already know, right? That's the path, right?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and then after that, basically, I was very happy. Like in the end of, I didn't got even to the fourth year of school. It was my third year, and I got accepted to do my internship at Chevrolet, and that's where everything paid off, right? All this hard work and like leaving some of the social life sometimes behind uh, paid off, right? To actually do the drink, and that's what matters, right? It's way more enjoyable if you party after you are like inside of the drink company that you want to work for, and celebrating it, compared to while you're trying to build your skills and everything. So that's a advice that I give to my students. Just wait for to go to the beach, wait a little bit, go after
I
you
have a
get a
question.
paycheck. Go
I have
ahead.
a question. The Chevrolet thing, it was happening in Brazil.
Yes.
It was in
Yeah.
Brazil. Which city was it? Was it
Yeah.
somewhere?
It was Brazil and São Paulo.
Brazil,
So
Sao Paulo.
yeah, so basically that was the biggest design studio that we had here in the actually like the whole south hemisphere of the world. That was like a massive studio, like full capabilities. They were doing international projects. It was actually like very special. And actually, I have a fun story about there too. The when I finally got accepted, and it's about like, and it involves like Galdino and art. I knew that they were working there before, right? And I had a small course of sketching cars with Leandro Trovati uh, and Arthur Martin, so I knew them. And it was
Man,
also
Brazil
like I
has
learned
such a
so
good
much from the
designers. Brazil
yeah,
has such a good designers. It has always had incredible designers in any art design field. I don't know what's happening there, what you eat, what you drink, but there is always incredible talented guys. Not just car design, in every
sure,
character design, environment design, 3D. Everything comes from Brazil. Incredible. And
sure,
there is something specific. There is something in the water there because there is so much talent. And
definitely.
I was always wondering, is it a good education system?
Hmm.
Because that's but after when I think about it, art is 50-50, 50 education, 50 done by you. So it depends. So I
Hmm.
have always wondered what is happening there when you get so many talents.
That's true. It's a good question. And I thinking about it, I think it's a lot about passion. Like Brazilian people are very like it's very famous for the passion of for life, and I think that fuels a lot of trying to develop art, right? Design. I think that probably, and we have a decent. I mean, uh, relatively, but what's important is that we learn. I think we learn a lot about like all the other countries instead of just studying too much of just our country. That may be it. And but yeah, I think passion is a good important part of it. And yeah, and yeah, and then that's why I kind of like I met them on this sketch portal where I learned so much. And then I remember to be extremely happy that when I was like got accepted for Chevrolet. And yeah, and then I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna meet and work with them. I want to grab like a chair and just put on their side and sit like a child, just like see what they do to kind of learn. And then when I finally got my documents, right, the document that talk about my internship, it was said that like Rodrigo Galdino was my supervisor, and I
Rodrigo,
was like, wow, that's amazing! Like that's gonna be
great guy,
insane,
great
I'm
guy, great
gonna learn
guy.
so much. Like it was a true idol, right? Because I actually learned Photoshop after looking at one of like look at his work, right? Like that I was like, wow, I need to learn how to use Photoshop. I remember like super clearly seeing like a render of like no, it was like a digital paint of Yoda fighting like a big drone, like a
Rodrigo
big
is a big
robot.
fan of Star Wars. He is a
Yeah,
big, big fan of
he's
Star Wars.
very hardcore, right? And I look at that, and I remember to see all the like the reflection of Yoda on the water. And I was like, oh my god! It was like he didn't have to draw the reflection; he just copy and paste, and then that was like, oh my god! I need to learn Photoshop now, and that's kind of influenced a lot of my style. I learned how to do like digital painting as well, and it was something that I was using for cars. It was really fun. But anyway, and I got when I finally got to Chevrolet, Arthur wasn't there. He had moved to another design studio. I think it was Citroën back in the time. I don't remember. And Galdino as well. And Galdino was there. I remember seeing like this crazy render on the wall was like an interior, like those printed massively. And I was like, wow, this guy is amazing. And I was like, then I was talking to him, and he's like, yeah, no, I'm leaving next week, so probably your supervisor is gonna be someone else.
You know what's a fascinating thing now when you say that? I always remember that things when I entered in some room where there were some hot shots and there was always a sculpture, a huge render or something. And I was like, wow, look at this. And
Mhm.
now I'm looking at your and mine room and we have been
Uh-huh.
in this industry and we had the same feeling. You have a blank walls, I have blank walls. I don't know why, when we are this long in the industry, why we don't have walls full of our artwork because it's
That's
coolest thing to
true.
see. And I don't know why. I have a feeling when you enter the industry, what was cool before, now it's not cool anymore. You know, you're so immersed in making a new one, new one, a new one. I mean, I have a couple. I will show you here. I have
Uh-huh.
this one. I have this one. But
That's
that's it.
awesome.
You know, just one a little bit showing me the way. But now when you said it, I was like, it's so interesting to think about it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like walls are plain blank. Yeah.
It's blank so you can create new stuff. Yeah. I always
Probably.
wanted to have a to get a
Yeah.
bigger apartment. When I get it,
Mm-hmm.
this is just a studio, but I always wanted to have apartment, I don't know, 60, 70 square meters just
Mm-hmm.
for my studio. That's a dream. Eventually we will get there. And I wanted it to be in a glass. And wanted everything from the inside 44 that I created to be there in the
That's
glass
cool.
shelves and stuff like that. So I'm currently working on that. We will see. But you gave me idea. Rodrigo is a great guy. Arthur
Oh
is
yeah.
also a great guy. You are a great guy. One more thing that I have to say. I know
Mm-hmm.
I also had Andre Pelas. He's a concept artist that does vehicles also.
I know
I
him.
have never met so far a Brazilian that is not a good guy also in this industry. And that's very cool to see because you are
Mm-hmm.
all very open hearted, want to help, and very cool people. And I really love that. I wish I could say about my people that also, but I can't. And I'm very honest when I say there are great people, they are bad. But with you guys, there is only
Mm-hmm.
great. There is only great.
Oh, we just because we keep all the bad locked inside no, in Brazil, No, just kidding. But yeah, yeah, this is flattering. Thanks. That's very kind words. Yeah, in yeah, I think so. Like we kind of probably grow up a little bit like with this kind of mentality that you always need to help each other, and that makes sense. And I bet that people that kind of get to bigger audiences too are probably a little better than others. So it's like not in a sense that in terms of kindness, but yeah, I just love helping people to get where they want, and that's the reason why I'm feeling amazing as being a professor, right? And yeah, this is very kind. This is very kind. Yeah, those people are super kind too. Like in the design studios, Chevrolet, I learned so much. There was not just Dan, right? There was other people there that were amazing, and everybody like took their time, like even when there's like super busy schedules inside the studio to just teach me something. Like I ended up having like an amazing supervisor that was like that that was Vicente Mullenheiler, and besides of the German surname, he was Brazilian too, and he taught me so much. Like he had amazing experience with clay, um, and like I learned so much from him. Like that's why I used to be. Uh, uh, he saved me to be pretty good on clay once I got to Europe. So that was great to learn from him. And Elio Queiroz was there too. He also does some really cool spaceships and everything. You probably know him. Um, yeah, so many people that were there. Like I'm not gonna be able to mention them. Like Pedro Guarinon was another one, like super fun guy.
He is super cool. He is
He's
also super
incredible.
cool.
Yeah, all these people are great, and I learned so much. Yeah, and wow, and I remember like it was amazing. It wasn't easy at all. Like when I was because I was still on my fourth year of school, I actually had to drive from there every Tuesday night. I had to take my car and drive all the way back to the city where I was studying. It was like 4 hours away. No, sorry, yeah, this was Tuesday at 3 p.m. I had to leave, so I could arrive at 7 p.m. To the university, watch one class. There was like a 2 or 3 hours class. I don't remember how long, but it was like a full day class, full night. And then the next day I had to wake up 4 a.m., drive all the way back to the studio to be there at 8 a.m. So like very little sleeping, like sleeping on the traffic light sometimes, like.
That sounds
But
like a typical Los Angeles.
yeah, exactly.
Waking
So
up three
yeah,
hours
then
before.
that was like tough time, but like I learned so much, and that was kind of basically what opens the door for me to go and study at SPD, same place where you studied,
Yeah.
right? And yeah, that place is tough. It teaches you a lot, but on the pressure, right? So it pushes you to learn a lot. I learned so much. There was so much hard working, and I'm very glad that actually I went there because it really like they try to put in the limit of stress because it's not easy to get on the car industry, right? And if you understand that stress can be something good that can build you up, right? That's what can happen, right? It pushes you
Yeah.
forward. My health was terrible right after it, but
Same as me.
but I actually got a job, so that was great.
I didn't get a job, but let's talk about that pushing, about SPD. I want to talk specifically about
Yeah,
that.
sure.
I have many memories from that time, but I can say
Hmm.
that I'm very happy about most of the memories. I openly very say about that.
Yeah.
You got a job, I didn't get a job. Health was horrible. Your health was horrible. I don't know a single person who was in SPD that they had a normal health.
Oh
Uh,
no.
because it's intense. It is really intense
Yeah.
and hectic and many things. But car design is not like that. Let's honestly talk. It's not like that. I mean, you work
Mhm.
hard now, not anymore. I'm just
Yeah.
thinking about new generations because if you, I think if a professor was acting like they did with us 15 years
Hmm.
ago, we are getting old, man. We have glasses now, Jesus Christ. But if they now acted like that, I think they would call police for them, literally, to come and pick them up because of
Oh
too
yeah.
much. Because it's different. I don't know how much. I don't know. Will that improve design or make it worse? Because I
Hmm.
don't know what's the balance between pushing hard and letting them go. There is a certain balance in design,
Yeah.
and I don't know how it will affect that. Now the new generations. You're a professor
Hmm.
and you're on a SCAD university. That's, if I remember correctly, third biggest in USA,
Yeah.
and uh, and it's huge. I read about it, and I want to talk about you about that role now. Before we will return to the Italy where you worked as a car
Yeah.
designer a little bit, but I want to ask you specifically, how
Hmm.
is the situation currently in university?
Hmm. Oh, it's completely different, right? Like compared to, as you said, if if a professor who behaved like a few years ago in schools now, he will go to jail, right? Like immediately. And I think like SCADA does a beautiful job at like creating like a welcoming environment to everybody. So I think that's actually something very beautiful that they do here. In a sense that we still push the students, right? But it's we kind of we get trained to help it to understand, like that not everybody can be pushed the same way or the same amount, right? And it's a very like super inclusive university too, because for example, when some universities try to select the students a lot so they get the best and make them even better, SCAS does the opposite. So they open for everybody, right? They still kind of need to send a portfolio and everything, but they try to give chances to people that were not gonna be accepted some places, right? And because the role of the university is to actually teach, not taking someone that's already good and teach even more, right? I mean, sometimes that depends on the philosophy of the university, but and from that, there's a lot of beautiful flourishing of students that didn't know exactly what to do, and now like are like they found their place by that. So and again, here is like they want the environment to be as supportive as possible, right? So most of because like there's a lot, there's feedback and there's that wants to kind of stress you out, but also you can give like a feedback that's constructive, but saying the right way where it's like more positive, and that when you're gonna get there, you just need to adjust this and this. You can do that, and that's actually something that works nice there.
It's good because there has to be someone cool as you and good as you to be there to push them. Because when I was studying, I was always left alone completely, and I really mean that when I say I was showed skills how to draw. They just show you and then you learn because art is 80%. Mostly you have to do it. There is no other way. It's not like other professions. But I
Yeah.
wish there was someone a little bit more supportive to pat me on the back and to tell me you're going in a good direction or we can do this. And in Europe, that doesn't happen. Let's be very honest. It doesn't happen. In Europe, they slap you literally most of the time. And many people had that experiences. I like that about American USA education system because it's a little bit different. It's more inclusive.
Yeah.
We have to give you what you pay for. We have to support you and so on. And I think that's very crucial for education of young children.
Yeah, it's all super organized as well, with the working plan and what what the students need to do and like in which specific dates. Almost to the point that it's almost gamified, but which is good. But that's also one thing that I learned in Italy a lot was that I need to organize myself and do the work myself. So sometimes if you give everything too simple and simplified and exactly done, like people keep waiting for like the input of what they need to do instead of acting themselves, right? So everything will have like the pros and pros, right? But this is something that I
Yeah.
learned in Italy was good.
In Italy, it was always fascinating for me how Italians work, and I will never forget that. I can describe it with words, but you need to experience it. You always think
Mhm.
that nothing is working. You have a feeling, even in company, nothing is connecting, not a single dot is connecting, and
Yeah,
you're like, "This project is going to hell. This is going down." And then at one point, same as they play football, at one
uh-huh.
point you just see everything connecting. Literally, it's connecting,
Everything
and
comes out. Yeah.
and you're like, what the hell is going on? We are finishing project before the end. We were supposed to. It's a couple of days earlier even, and it looks like it's gonna fall apart. It's a
Yeah,
very
exactly.
specific skill set to have as Italian. It's
It's
very
crazy.
specific.
Yeah.
And I can't describe it because I only saw it there, nowhere else, nowhere. Same as
Mhm.
football. When they play football, you have a feeling that the whole team is falling apart, and then
Yeah,
eventually they just start playing and they score, and you're like,
exactly.
very,
It's
very
That
unique.
was the best description, the best comparison,
It
because
is
that's
really like
exactly how
that.
it goes. Yeah, you gotta be flexible. It's crazy, and then like no organization whatsoever. Projects starts, like 3 weeks after when then they should.
But they are
Yeah.
always on time. They are always on time,
And
which
then
is
in the end, we're
incredible.
always on time. In the end, there's this magical moment that happens in the end. But yeah, and Italy is like another country. It's where it's full of passion, right? And I think all the passion kind of fix the problem in the end. In the end, probably,
Yeah, joga bonita, joga bonita.
Joga bonito. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I always like to see when I look at different cultures how they approach it. When I was
Hmm.
growing up, I thought that Asians are number one in everything they do because that was what was served to me. Every time I see something spectacular in this world, it is done by Asian. Asian is doing it 10 times better than me, but it's completely different approach than European, than Serbian, than Brazilian. And I always like to see how each of the cultures is approaching it differently, and there are
Uh-huh.
things that we can't see until we feel them, literally. I can explain to myself, but until I feel it, it's not the
That's
same.
true.
Same with design.
Hmm. Yeah, and design is so fascinating because of that. There's like cultures. Every culture make it different, and that impacts the design and the outcome of the design in the end, right? So it's like, for
It,
example,
it
like German design is so much more technical, right? When you analyze it.
that's auto. One
Yeah,
straight line. That's auto.
exactly.
I mean, German design grew since they brought Italian designers. I'm very open about that. There are some great designers there, but they are for technical stuff. When they brought Italian, it blossomed. Literally, Volkswagen exploded after Walter Silva. Even though
Exactly.
it's a perfect balance between Italian and German. It's literally a perfect balance. I
It's a
love it.
great balance.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah. It's like
Uh,
passion and organization together, right?
that's auto. That's the real one. That's the real. So I wanted to return to Italy a little bit and talk
All
about
right.
it.
Yeah.
So when we started talking about their famous ways of working, where did you
Mhm.
get a job? Was it first an internship, then a job? How did it go?
Yeah. So I got the internship at Ital Design, right? So we basically audio studio back in that time already. Ital Design, for the ones who doesn't know, is Giugiaro Design, right? So the actual name of the studio was Ital Design and was owned by Giugiaro for a long time, and until Volkswagen bought majority of it, like 51%. And exactly when the day that I joined the studio, not the day, right, but the year, Audi bought completely the studio when Giugiaro was retiring back there. Um, yeah, and it was just a like great moment to get there, right? And and basically the because, for example, what was happening there was that once it was a consultancy studio, right? For every kind of besides of being owned by Audi, it was working as a consultancy design studio for all the other studios too. So they were doing work for Volkswagen, Audi, Lamborghini, a lot of Lamborghini work. Lamborghini had like a whole design studio there inside. Um, for all the brand sets as well. They have done like a lot of set work in the past too, and by the time that was 100% owned by Audi, they actually opened the studio to actually do consultancy for other brands too, right? What will make that's amazing, right? Because then you're not just, let's say, inside Volkswagen and doing Volkswagens for your whole life, right?
Yeah,
Every 3 months will be a different project for a different brand, so it's super exciting.
yeah,
In my opinion, that would be the coolest studio to work uh, that you could imagine in car design, 100%. It's just like, yeah, that's a little bit of the environment and organization and administration. It makes it a little bit harder, right? But in terms of projects, it was cooler. Like I did projects for many of like a lot of Chinese brands, um, especially in the beginning, right? When you arrive in intern, that's the first project that they put you to work in, and then you get once you get they start to trust you to take on bigger projects. Then you start to get like really cool and big projects to do. For example, the once I was working on a Chinese project, and they were working on the Audi R8 2019, and yeah, that was like one of the
My
highlights.
favorite car. My favorite car. I love that car. I love that car. I
Yeah,
love
really.
it.
Great. It's nice to hear that, man. And yeah, and the only reason like I got to work on that car was because when I was in school, was trying to learn all the new software that like you kind of need to get in the industry, right? Even if they were not like requested, I learned how to use VRED, and they need someone in the studio to work on the project doing VRED because the visualization department wasn't so big. So they need the people to be flexible and use all the softwares when you have like the small teams working in different projects, right? And yeah, that was kind of like kind of lucky, but also not lucky because I was working for it. And I got inside the team that was building the Audi R8, and was very 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 fun. Like have one of the first cars that were working being the R8. Yeah, and then they choose one of my front proposals there further in the project, and yeah, that's the history. And after this went well, so they use a lot of alias there too. Like back in the time, Filippo Perini was taking over the studio from Lamborghini,
Yeah.
so he was introducing the process that they use in Lamborghini too. So it was a lot of quick sketching, 3D modeling, VRED. So we're a team of just a few, like 2 3D modelers, 3D designers, and yeah, we were moving super fast there, and we designed the car, and then this kind of took to another project, and then we did the Zero One, which the car that was like made for car collectors. It's like a $2 million car, so it's
Yeah.
for very extravagant people, and that's one of the reasons why I have so many wings and so many openings. Different than different than the like what my personal taste for design is, and that was actually taught me a lot. That you're not designing for yourself; you're designing for a client, right? And you cannot you need to understand the client and design something that he actually wants, right? Not something like in that case something very extravagant. So yeah, that taught me a lot too, because I'll for of course go for something a little bit more purist, but that was very good learning moments in terms of being a designer, and so on. And then we worked for many projects too, did projects for Honda as well, which was really fun. One of the coolest projects that I did, I believe, was like a little concept car for Honda. It didn't move forward, but it was super cool. It was like I had a great time. I had like a small design studio, a small team that was working with me and 3D modeling that car. So, and in the end, everybody loved it. It was a compact electric car. It was super fun, sporty and everything. And yeah, and then after a few years in retail design, I just felt that like there's not much my environment, and yeah, like most of the times, like there's despite those projects being amazing and everything, was a little bit like very I don't know how to describe, but people were always complaining. On the atmosphere wasn't great during that time. Like it was a transition moment. You see employers, like complaining here, complaining there, and I'm really, I believe a lot that the environment kind of affects you. And I was like, well, I don't think that's my environment as well. I'm not that pessimist. Everybody's being very pessimist here. And I was like, well, I think it's time for change. And this was like, I think after 3 4 years, I don't remember exactly. And I was like, yeah, I think I'm done with this. And I was like thinking about this. And at the same time, one of my like a great friend that I had there, also I made great friends too there. That's amazing. But one of them introduced me to teach in the IAD, so in the Instituto de Arte Aplicada ao Design. And that was amazing, right? That was the moment that what I found teaching. I was like trying to do all that I could inside the studio to help like internships, intern guys, and coaching them inside the studio, and that was like super fulfilling for me. And yeah, and then after start teaching there, one of my students was Pedro Ruperto. I don't know if you met him.
Of course.
Yeah,
Filippo.
yeah, Pedro's great. Like I had him um, as like my first class. And anyway, everybody was amazing there. I loved teaching. And the thing was like, I was just basically counting the time, like, and counting the hours to finish my work at Itaú Design and go teaching. And I would enjoy that way more. So it was like, I was like, wait, that something here is like upside down. I'm a full-time designer, part-time professor, but I enjoy teaching way better. And I was like considering to actually go back to Brazil, set up my studio there, and with all that I learned, and start slowly moving towards teaching, because I knew that to teach there I would have to do a PhD in the to teach in the state university. You got to do a PhD.
You're talking about
PhD
Brazil. In Brazil, you need to have PhD to teach, or in
to teach
Italy.
in the university. Yeah, it doesn't matter if it's design or anything. And yeah, that's then one of my professors, he was already talking to me and telling me he wanted to do the PhD and take his place. That he was about to retire. That was Osmar Rodriguez, great person. Everybody that's graduated from there in the car industry owns a lot to him, to Osmar and Placido as well, another professor. And anyway, but the meantime, I was like crafting this plan, right? I finally decided to quit, and it was funny. I just got one day to the studio, and it didn't took long. After I had, like, every time that I I have something in my mind and it feels a little bit clear, I don't wait until it's 9900% clear. If it's 50-60% clear, like maybe 51, I say, okay, I'm gonna try it. And then I just went to the studio, sit on my chair. The first time that my boss came to my studio, I told him, look, tomorrow I'm not coming. And he's like, is it for like you can come, or you're gonna travel or something? I said, no, I'm no come tomorrow, and after I'm not coming as well. Like I'm leaving. And then like he said, what's going on? And I was like, then I explained, right, like jokes apart, and I told him like, I think my time here it's enough. I want to do something different, and I can stay. We did all the formalities. If you need me to stay for some time, I can stay a little bit more. But I just want to leave, and that's it. That same day that I also told my landlord, like, oh look, I'm leaving, and I need to give back the keys. And the same day that I told my landlord, Scad actually called me for ask me if I want to do an interview, and that was actually like one of the cool times. And I mean, wasn't for like from nowhere, right? Like Caesar was there. He he saw my work before, and we haven't worked before, but he knew me, and he knew that I quit from. I asked for like to quit from the from design, and that's it. And then he I think he called them, told the HR to call me or something like this, and that's it. That was the exact same day that the HR called me and say, "Wow, that's I think it's just confirming the thing." And I was like, "Okay, let's do this." And yeah, and it was after a lot of interviews, and I'm here
Yeah,
teaching SCAD, right? Like, and it's
it was a
basically it's
destiny. It was a destiny.
fulfilling my passion for teaching. It's like I've never been as happy, right? Like in a place. So, and this is basically what I tell to my students too. I tell them, what I want is for you folks to have the same amount of fulfillment that I have here, because yeah, there's no bigger high than actually helping someone for me, and it's just incredible. So yeah, it gives me goosebumps every time that I think about it. That I get to help them find their way, because it's hard. You need to to listen from you from the inside, and you gotta learn from. You gotta learn that. You're gonna find. You need to find where you're gonna go, and that's what's like all my story kind of was about. Like trying all this kind of crazy stuff and doing biology and trying different things until I found what I want, and that transformed completely my life. If you talk with, like, for example, I can, this is funny, like, if you talk with any of like my friends from childhood, I would be like completely, like, verbal communication is still not my great, like what I'm great thing that I am in. But if I tell you one of my friends from childhood, like, oh, Rafa is a professor in the US, they're like, oh, shut up, like, I never like to talk in front of people, and but that's something that I have to do. If I want to help people, I need to talk in front of them, right? That's no escape. So yeah, and I sometimes I think myself too, like, I remember to in the first kind of classes that I'll be teaching to, I'll be there like in front of people, like, what I'm doing here in front of this classroom. I don't know if I can teach them anything, or
I think that your character is a great balance for teaching and to teach people. I think you have a great character for that because you are joyful, you are kind, you listen a lot. I think it's a great combination to have you as a professor there.
oh,
That's
thank
my
you.
my that's my opinion. You're not somebody who should sit in a cubicle and draw same old car every day. I think you're somebody who is very good with people. Maybe you say you don't have verbal skill, not skill. Your verbal is lacking, as you said, but I don't agree with that because verbal is not just verbal. There is different things, body language, your thoughts, and so on.
Yeah.
So that's my opinion about that.
Oh, thank you, John. That's very kind. Yeah. And yeah, that's a great comparison too. It's for me, it's like, like drawing one car, another car. Exactly. That was, it was fun. Like, was definitely a dream, and see something that you have done on the road is just incredible. But it, like, you're working for yourself, right? Compared to when you're inspiring someone or helping someone in some way, that, it's just, I don't know, it just lights me up. It's crazy.
It definitely is, teaching new people about the design and art. It's very specific. It's something different. One thing is to draw it, other is to teach. I remember when I was giving lectures, I would always, what would be fascinating to me is how much I would need to dissect it in my head to explain something that is very simple to me. But for others,
Exactly.
it wasn't because I did it so many times that it became simple, but it wasn't for me also. It's something different, to learn. And
Mhm.
what I want to ask you, so technically it was all a destiny. The dots were connecting one by one, and eventually you ended up at SCAD.
Yeah, exactly. And if you pay attention to the signs, that's what's very important too. It's sometimes the signs are in front of you, but you're not looking at them and not seeing them. I think you're really a person that's really good on that too, to see the hints that you get in front of you, and trace the path. For me, it came very late in life, and then, like, I look at some points, I was like, oh wait, this was already like a sign of something. But yeah, I was very, like, yeah, I was like, just really, as I told you, like, uh, when I was young, I was completely like out of the planet. uh, yeah, I just didn't understood who I was myself, or like, I mean, I was just Rafa, but I have no like perspective or anything. Like, I remember one really funny thing. Like, for example, um, I was talking about the vestibular, like this test that you do for getting to the school, and the name is vestibular. And I remember, like, in school, like, my friends talking, like, before even getting to the end of school, talking about this test, and I was like, "What are you talking about?" It's like, I didn't even understood the education system. I was like, "Okay, I'm just gonna pretend I know it," and yeah, because I didn't even have like a perspective of doing a college. I didn't even know that there was university after high school.
When you said now it
Mhm.
happened late for you in life, I have a very
Yeah.
different opinion about that. I think that two things. First, that social media is provoking us that we are too old. If you don't do it by 18, if you are not a billionaire, you are old. I
Oh
think
yeah.
it's one of the things. But the second thing is I always compare it to this. And for me, it's one of the best signs to show that there is universe, God, or whatever, and that time, everybody has a different timing in their life. I
Hmm.
mean, I know that my career crashed at 27, then I restarted everything and so on. I know many stories like that, but one thing that I always think when I start to rush something, I always remember uh, different people get married at a different time. Just because you did it when you thought you were supposed to do it doesn't mean it's a quality marriage.
Yep.
Or later in life. It depends. It always depends. And for me it's one of the most fascinating things because when they come and say you're too old, you should have gotten married, or you're too young. You have on both specters people that are doing great in their marriages later and earlier in life, depending who has a different path of the God or universe or however destiny, however you want to do it. And I would rather go neutral in that field than do something before my time is and fuck it up. That's
Exactly.
that's how, that's how I perceive it with anything in life since then, because I had my experience with that, and I know how important it is to be thankful to God where it's moving you literally in which direction. I think that the dots very good connected for you, and I
Mhm.
think that you ended where you were supposed to end. And what I like about this talk is that you said your friends would say no way that you became a professor of everything, but you see how interesting the universe. Same about me, my friends. I mean, I see them still, so they know. But if you ask them 20 years ago that I will be an artist, they would say, God, no. God, no. Like, never, never, never. But here we are. Here we are. So, yeah.
Exactly. Define the odds, right? Yeah. Yeah. As I told
Yeah.
you, like another fun thing, like I used to, like you said I'm good listener, right? Like at some point here in in the talk,
Yeah.
uh, back in the days, like I used to have like, if I was having like a conversation with one of my friends, like, for, and the person's kind of going on and talking about something, and I'm like, yeah, yeah, and then the person will talking, like, just one-on-one conversations, and people will say, what do you think? And I was like, oh, sorry, we're talking with me, like, like that was like a typical phrase that will say, like, oh, are you talking with me? It was like, it was just the two of us there, and I still see all those friends, and they're amazing. But yeah, I don't know how all of that changed, but I was completely out of the planet.
We grow up, man. We grow up. We are not young anymore. We are becoming men finally.
Exactly.
And things change. I have a
Yeah.
friend that was speaking about that. I have a friend that talks so much. He doesn't care what you're doing. He literally doesn't care. And he was telling something in a car 6 years ago. I will never forget it. And we are driving. I'm driving. A guy is sitting next to me, and
Hmm.
he falls asleep. The guy is talking. He's so into himself that he doesn't understand that the guy on the right is sleeping. He fell in the middle of a conversation. He couldn't keep up anymore. And he continues. And what is for me fascinating, I don't tell him, I just continue driving. For 20
Uh-huh.
minutes, he's talking. He's talking for 20 more minutes. This guy is sleeping here. So, yeah,
Man,
it's always fascinating. What I wanted to ask you is,
tell me.
because we will be wrapping up soon, uh,
Oh yeah.
what would you tell to people that want to come to SCAD, what to do, or any university? Let's call it like that. You have European experience, you have Brazilian, South American.
Hmm.
I almost said South African. I don't know why. South American experience, USA experience, Europe experience. You have been
Yeah.
everywhere. You taught everywhere. So I want to know what are the differences,
Hmm.
and what are the what would you advise to each person from each side of the universe of the world. What the hell am I talking of the world? What should
Hmm.
they do to improve themselves, because each position gives different opportunities?
No, for sure. Yeah. I think that, the most valuable thing is to, um, it's like the the value of experimentation. So trying many different things as possible, right? To find what you want. And nowadays you can experiment things way easier than going to do on a college here, a college there. You can use internet a lot, right? So, but don't stick to like social media, right? Like watch some like things that are more in depth, like documentaries, like YouTube videos. Not the ones that are like only 5 minutes long, right? That because
Five
young people
seconds.
don't want to see nothing that's more than 5 minutes, right?
Five
Uh,
seconds, not 4 minutes.
10
5 seconds.
seconds, yeah, exactly. So then start to develop this curiosity to dive in and find things and really like try visualizing you doing and see if that sparks like a little flame inside you, right? Like meditation is something that always helped me. Uh, Me and Dark were talking about this the other day, and it's something that it helps you know yourself from the inside, listen to yourself mostly, right? Then actually learn, but learn too. But anyway, that's something important. Visualize yourself doing what you're thinking about, and because you're not gonna get um, deep into your learning journey, right? Into your growth journey, let's say, right? If you don't know where you want to go, right? So try to find this north star that's gonna guide or your journey, right? And then focus on the habits are going to build that life. So, for example, if you want to become a designer, you got to sketch, right? And you got a 3D model. You gotta think creatively, right? So, sketching is not just a visualization tool; it's a thinking tool, right? So a great way to develop your creativity, your thinking. You got to develop your curiosity, right? So then build around, like once you know where you want to go, just build around yourself the habits that will help you build that. So create like practicing times. Designing, being a artist is not just about the skills, but also keeping your head straight and get a lot of inspiration input. So like you need to read a lot, right? Just don't watch movies and see images. That's great, but it's not everything that is, right? Like reading, it's amazing. Every time you're reading, your brain is like a workout for you because it needs to build all that image inside, right? So that's and then like just building those habits, right? Those small habits will bring you there. Like what you eat is actually extremely important, right? I didn't
Yeah,
learn that until I got here to the US, where like with all the junk food we have here, but not just the junk food, like even the food in the supermarket can kill you, So
I'm
um,
surprised by that. To be honest, every time I hear it, I'm very surprised by that. Every time.
crazy. Oh, there in Serbia, the food is so good. Wow.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's amazing. It's something that was like I wasn't really expecting, like because I before going there I didn't know much, but wow, once was there, I was in love with the country. Like a lot of great people too. Damar says
Thank you.
that there's some people that are not great, but there's a lot of great people there.
Of course, of course, of course.
There's people are fun and but amazing country, incredible culture too.
Thank you.
Yeah, and that comes to experiment too. Like seeing other places is great. But yeah, the food is amazing there. Food was amazing in Brazil, in Italy, but then here, there is good food, but there's food that really is really bad for your body. Especially if
I'm
you're not.
always surprised by that when somebody mentioned it, and it's always people who are outside of USA. When they come to USA, they say food is like plastic, and I'm like, I'm not expecting it. I'm not expecting that kind of thing from a number one country in the world to have that kind of problems. But
Yeah, it's
it's
kind of
strange.
crazy. I remember like buying a zucchini in Italy, and that thing got rotten in 2 days. And here,
Okay,
it's like this
last
super
50 years.
hyperactive thing that never gets old.
It's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy when I see that. Like
Uh,
crazy. Italians take care of their food, I must say. They are very organic. I love that in Italy.
That's true.
Uh,
Yeah, they're very kind of organized with what they eat, and they plan it really well. Once like from Brazil, I was there. I was like, wow, this is too much, you know. And they don't eat
yeah.
nothing that comes from the U.S. That's crazy. Like it. I mean, not everybody, of course, but my friend, most of my friends, if there's some sort of candy or chocolate that comes from the U.S., they don't eat it. I
Yeah,
was
yeah,
like, ah,
yeah.
man, come on, that you're
Italians
crazy.
are big. Well, Italians are big on home food. They are big on home.
Yep,
Same as us. Even though we have implemented a lot of American stuff here, but Italians, I remember that very organic, home cooked food. Home
yep,
cooked food. They do eat pasta and stuff like that, but a lot of vegetables from the
hmm,
garden and stuff like that. Olive oil, of course, it's
yep.
unavoidable, and it was really beautiful. But yeah, it's interesting. Second part of the question:
Tell me.
what are the differences between
Oh yeah.
Brazil, South American education system, USA, and Europe? What are the differences?
Oh, beautiful. Yeah. Sorry, I forgot the second part. But yes, the biggest difference is that in Brazil, um, in Brazil, like you have extremely, like, really good professors, right? You don't have a lot of like infrastructure, resources
Yeah,
in the school, right? But the most important thing that, if you like that you if you're in Brazil is that you make the school yourself. I had like a lot of colleagues that are doing extremely well in the industry. Some that are completely, went away from industrial design too, right? So it's about the person that is in there, right? If that's something that's really relevant for you, if you choose well, you just got to do the hard work yourself, right? That I didn't have like for example sketching classes. We had like for example like illustration draw, like a realistic drawing
yeah,
reference from reference. I didn't have like any Photoshop classes too, so all like the main the two main things that a car designer needs to know that back in that time, like you gotta learn by yourself, 3D modeling as well, right?
did
So
it
in
change
Brazil,
now?
yeah,
Did it change now? Did it change now? 2024? Did it change it, or it's a similar?
I don't know actually how's the process, the course is going there, to be honest. But I still believe the São Paulo State University is a great school. Um, USP is also another great one. But yeah, in Brazil, you gotta, and those don't, and for whoever is studying in Brazil, don't see this as a bad thing, right? Like you gotta learn a lot by yourself, but this is going to teach you a lot. So that's actually something that it's going to be great for you too, right? And what's important is that you're gonna get a diploma in the end, and you're gonna be able to work.
Yeah,
So, and if you build the skills, then you get a job. If and for example, in Europe, I think it's phenomenal, right? The whole learning experience there is incredible because you're immersed in design, right? So uh, the oldest building that we have here might be like 300 years old compared to in Italy that you have
yeah,
things are 3,000. So and this is like in the center of the city everywhere. So um, and that's crazy, right? Like you're able to walk past these ruins of like the Roman emperor, right? Like
yeah, yeah,
it's just crazy, and that's something that once I went to study there, it completely shifted totally my perspective, right? Like the competition is really high, right? There's a lot of talented people, people that their family have been artists for generations, right? Like that's crazy, So I remember to be very humble when I got to SPG because I knew some car design, right? Like I did a near internship of Chevrolet, but yeah, then like my colleagues were like uh, I don't know. They have been studying on the bachelor's degree with the best car designers from Italy as professors, and this doing this crazy renderings in like seconds. It's like minutes. A lot of like extremely talented people. Well, many great friends there too. Oh, Nico, right? Nicholas Petich, you know
Yeah,
him.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
I
right,
don't know where
super
he is
talented
now.
guy. Yeah, he
I
went
don't know
for
where is he now.
Lamborghini.
He's
He
Lamborghini now.
no, he's not Lamborghini anymore. He's an Alpine.
Oh, cool. He had incredible luck to have a different passport, not just Serbian one. That was incredible luck.
Exactly.
That was
Yeah,
incredible luck.
he's half Bosnian.
Yeah, he is half Bosnian. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and a great person, amazing person. And like there was another guy that was like he's no my god, like he could sketch like crazy, and his name was Marcello Basilio. Great guy, learned so much from him too. But yeah, the amount of car design that those people knew, like compared to me, I was like I was naive totally. Was and I just had to catch up, and that was actually something that helped me a lot. Like being immersed in Italy and learn like and see all that. Like for example, you see Ferraris every day, right? Like so you learn a lot. Like you see a lot of cars, and that are you don't see in Brazil, like especially in my town. In my town, it's very common to still see like someone that is actually on the back of the horse, like
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
horse
yeah,
in
yeah.
the carriage. And it's not just for
But in
tourists.
Italy,
That's the
everywhere,
actual
everywhere.
sport.
Same as me in Italy. When you come there, everywhere, Lamborghini, Ferrari, uh, everywhere, sport cars,
Yeah.
supercars. It's insane. It's
Hey, it's just sitting
Maserati.
on the road.
Yeah, yeah, just sitting on the road. Also, the old ones, like literally with the cows there, because they
Yeah,
have because they have cheaper ones because they are all there and so on. But it's fascinating, you know. You go to Milano, you see at least 15 Ferraris, at
yeah.
least 15 Ferraris you see, and you're
A
like,
day.
wow, they are all having a Ferrari here, like
Yeah.
literally
No, it's
crazy,
insane.
crazy.
And the environment teaches you so much, and that's the thing. Like being around these amazing talented people like helped me grow so much. Um, and yeah, and then it's intense too. So one of the things that I think in Europe is different is that like, for example, the school gives you some autonomy, like in the sense that you gotta organize yourself, right? So that helps you learn too. Um, but like what I was trying to say is that also like I think everybody in Europe is a little bit more mature, right? Like
Okay.
the younger generations compared to Brazil and US too. Like for example, I would be that would be common. Like for example, you're traveling and you see like teenagers traveling by themselves with train. Like like they are like like they look like 14 years old and
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
traveling by themselves with the
that's
bags,
true.
taking the train and do all this stuff. And 14, I don't know. I think I couldn't barely eat my own food. Just kidding. But but anyway, that's it. And the environment was great. School stuff, right? Like it's as just I don't know how it's nowadays. I think it's way that changed a lot, right? But I mean, you know it. Like for example, yeah, professor would tell, "Oh, this is crap. Go do it again." And so this will teach you a lot too.
It's
Makes
not
you
like
think
that.
that.
It's like this. It's like this. Wait, wait. I need a piece of
Yeah,
paper. Here, this
yeah,
is my
it's good.
ticket for a traffic. It goes. Let's imagine it's my drawing.
Uh-huh.
It doesn't go. It's bad. It goes like this. Go do
Exactly.
another one. Go do another one. Another one. Okay, I'm going. Yeah,
Exactly.
I'm going.
Man, I remember one day one professor taking a like I had my 3D model, sorry, my clay model, and the professor told us to change something on the wheel. And then like the other day we didn't have time to change it. He came on the classroom, he just looked at it, he took the wheel, and then that like I don't remember what he said, but he just took the wheel and just launched it on the wall. And I was like, what?
But for me, I
Yeah,
love that. To be honest, part of me loves that.
yeah,
Because it's
exactly.
that's what you needed for a good design. That's why I'm always asking the new generations where you go to police if you do that. I mean,
Uh-huh.
I don't support anybody bullying anybody, but if you have a person which is well mannered, old school, and is honest, and
Mhm.
when they say change the wheel and you don't change it, for me they have absolute right to throw it in the wall if they said it 3 or 4 times. but
Yeah,
if a person is an idiot that just that does that for a fun, it's a different story. But I'm just
exactly.
wondering how the design will change when we don't have those honest old school people that throw the wheel
Mhm.
in the wall to push you to become a man or a grown person. Doesn't matter,
Yeah,
to become. It's very interesting.
yeah, yeah. No, it's part of the learning experience for sure.
Yeah, of course. It's definitely. So, final words. If it
Final
has been
words.
already, Rafael, we can talk till tomorrow like this. It has been
Yeah,
already.
if you keep going, that will go forever, right?
Yeah.
Oh, closing out with the US, right? Like the US, basically, it's amazing. You have all
Ah, yeah.
the insane structure, right? Like for example, like in terms of technology that I couldn't imagine that you have this in a school. So, for example, like in our department in industrial design here, we have, I don't know, it's probably like 15 3D printers, like huge 3D printers. We
I'm
have
so jealous. I'm so jealous.
It's crazy. We have like those two. Actually, we have three of those. Like we have one very big one and two smaller, of like
Wanna
the
print
for the
something for
jets
me? Wanna print something for me?
for sure. Just send some awesome designs and we
Yeah,
we
we can
can
do it.
talk with the
We can do it.
department here.
We can do it. We
Uh,
can do
and
it.
but anyway, we have those like full color printers, right? That I they that the back the day that when they bought them, there were only like 15 in the whole country, they have like three inside of the studio there. It's great, and something that you never imagine, right? But
Uh, yeah,
but that's it. But at the same time, you don't have all the culture around you that you have in Italy, right? Or
yeah,
Europe. It's like in general.
yeah.
Cool. Let's move to the. Okay, now I just wanted to answer the question fully.
No,
Uh,
I'm not thinking about the big printer. I'm thinking I want to get a big printer and print everything. Like, man, this job is super expensive. Everything that you think of, I want to print a tiny elephant this big, but I'm not printing
Whoa.
it because it will cost me around. I calculate something $2,000 or something like that. It's super expensive. I need to get sponsors fast, fast. Like, but that's a different story. I'm just thinking in my head. I apologize. Final words. What are you advising to upcoming designers? What should they do? And when
All
I
right.
say that, what should they do? We talked about open mind and stuff like that, but I'm asking about how do they get to university?
Mm-hmm. So how they can get to the university?
Yeah,
Yeah. So well, you gotta build a portfolio, right? And to do a portfolio, you gotta do work. So um, my my advice is to do things, right? I think what you know like I see like well, the way I've been watching this younger generations now, like uh, I think one of the things that I see a lot is that we don't right, but like this generation don't do things sometimes to afraid of failing, right?
yeah,
And I don't know if because nowadays everything is kind of like very public. I think people didn't have much, was not much afraid in the past to fail because no one will see it. But that's bullshit. Like BS, right? You don't grow without failure, right? So just do things, right? Just do as much as you can. Try things. Don't try and quit halfway. Finish whatever work that you're doing, but just do it, right? Like start doing something, because the afraid of not being great at something, it's so huge nowadays for this generation. So just go there, do something, and you're gonna learn from it failing. And it's not gonna go right in the first time.
yeah,
Don't think it's gonna work the first time you I don't know, you watch something, a tutorial on YouTube, and it's gonna go well. It's not gonna go. The first one's gonna go wrong. It's gonna fail. So fail more times and learn from that, right? If you're not doing and you're not failing, you're not learning from that, right?
yeah,
And you gotta go and try things. Like for example, you're not gonna learn, like having the experience, right? If you don't try doing something difficult, like or if you think you can do something with art, take that course or do this, do that. uh, try for yourself, right? Like you gotta fail to get the full experience of the learning.
Yeah. Hmm. That's a good advice. I like it. And for
Hmm.
the finish, we are finishing now. It was pleasure to have you, Rafael. Finally, we managed to gather at the same time.
Hmm.
Happy for that you came to my podcast. I'm sure that people will enjoy a lot. Thank you for talking a lot. I also appreciate that. And we will have one more for sure in the near
Nice.
future.
Yeah.
In the near
I
future.
agree. It was awesome, right? It was great talking to you. I felt very comfortable here talking to you, man. Like, it's a huge pleasure talking to you. Like, we never have so much time to talk. Sorry that I actually talk most of the time, right? Like, I think we talk too
Please
much
don't
about my story.
apologize. Please don't apologize. This is your podcast. That's the purpose of it. That's the purpose of it.
Uh-huh.
It's the purpose of it, and it's the way it should be.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. All
please,
right.
no
So,
apologies. No
yeah, next time
apologies.
we can talk about other points than my story, but was amazing. Thanks so much. I hope that this helps at least one person out there, and yeah, and if people need to have questions or anything, they can reach me out on social media, right? I'm super reachable. I try to, the same time that I want to help as much people as possible. I also don't have a lot of time, like just for me and Dharma to schedule this interview, because I had to um, do one time here, one time there, and then cancel it and then rescheduling. But yeah, that's I try to help as much people as possible. So I find that this work out, and I hope that this might inspire someone out there. So thanks so much for the opportunity. Now it's huge, right? Like as again, I don't like to talk much, especially online, but it was really fun. It was really fun. Thanks so much for the opportunity, man.
It was my pleasure, Rafael. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Rafael Corazza. Great advices. Ending of the episode. Please hit the subscribe button if you haven't, and see you on the next episode. Bye, everybody.